Today's episode of the Dark Paranormal is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it. So your dollar goes a long way. Visit progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Companies and affiliates' potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations. Live from Liverpool, the Dark Paranormal. Hello everyone and welcome to one of our pre-season episodes that we do like to put out before the start of a new season. And it's a very special episode today because we are speaking with the new host of Oscuridad Paranormal, which is the franchised version of the Dark Paranormal in the Spanish language, Ana Belëno. Hello, Ana.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, and thank you very much for joining me to say, well, hello, and introduce yourself to the whole Dark Paranormal audience out there. We're very much looking forward to everything that you're going to bring to this show also, because we did mention, obviously, as the show expands into Spanish, eventually you'll start to receive paranormal experiences from your Spanish audience. And I personally can't wait to receive those to share them with our English language audience.
Yeah, I think it's going to be lovely, amazing. You're going to get some crazy stories from Latin America.
I was going to go on to this later, but that's a good segue to go into it now. It's interesting to me because when you look at the English or the Western world, shall we say, or the mainly predominantly English-speaking audience, the terms of, or the percentage, of people who are religious is very low. But normally there's a tie-in between a belief in some form of religion or higher power and a belief in the paranormal. Now, I'm fully aware that in Latin America, that belief is much higher than it appears to be in what I class as the English-speaking Western world. So from that aspect, I think you're going to be inundated with experiences the likes of which we very rarely cover.
Yes, we have a lot of beliefs, not only on the religious side, but also in all kinds of paranormal things, like goblins, like witches, like what do you call them, shapeshifters or skinwalkers. Of course, we have different names for them in Spanish, even from the ones that they use in the United States.
Yeah.
But it's all like in the same area, right? In the same description. So yeah, it's the religious thing, but also a lot of the paranormal that I don't think is usual in, at least in your side of the world.
Yeah.
You tend to see it sometimes, but it's not that common.
Yeah, that's the part that's really exciting for me. In fact, although I've not done it because I'm a typical Western person who speaks one language and expects everyone else wherever I go to speak English. But one of the reasons I wanted to learn a second language was literally to hear more about their paranormal experiences in that country. And that's why this really excites me because, as you were saying then, I may be mispronouncing this and it may be a completely different entity, but is it duende?
So yeah, it's duende. That we call it duende, and they're like goblins, like
yeah.
What do they call them in Ireland? Leprechauns.
Okay.
Yeah, they're in the family of the Fae, right? And people believe here in duendes, but some of the beliefs are that they are good, that they are helpful, sometimes that they are fun. They will just hide stuff around the house, even if you have a big garden. You won't find things and stuff. But some of them, some people say that they are evil and that they will try and steal children or some other evil things. Yeah.
That's interesting because that ties in absolutely identically to I believe it's the Fae in Ireland, not necessarily leprechauns as such, but definitely the Fae in terms
Hmm.
of they would leave what they called changelings. So they would steal a child or a baby and put a changeling in its place. And
Hmm.
the idea was the baby was taken into the world of the Fae.
There you have a good difference, a good example of the differences between our beliefs, because we don't really believe in changelings. We just think that duendes take children to turn them into duendes, and they don't leave anything in exchange. It's just like the child disappeared, and that is it.
It's fascinating. It really is. And it's interesting, though, how the similar sort of, well, the whole concept of the Fae exists almost worldwide. And for me, that speaks to something. Yeah, existing is what I mean. Um, so when did you first get into the paranormal? What was the sort of trigger that got you attracted to this topic in the first place?
Well, I think that I was born a weird child because what my mother says is that I always liked weird, dark stuff. Like when I was in kindergarten, I would rent this movie, The Witches,
Mm.
where they turn little children into mice. I would rent it 3 times a week and watch it 7 times a day, and I loved it. And also Nightmare Before Christmas and all those kinds of movies and stories, I loved them. Um, and I always liked the darkness.
Fascinating because what our listeners won't know, but they're about to find out, is we were initially talking when we began our communications because you offered to translate the Dark Paranormal into Spanish. And I explained to you that would be pointless because I don't speak Spanish. And then we talked some more. I asked how you'd feel about hosting it and in your own language as your own show. And it's very I class myself probably wrongly and probably thinking too highly of myself as a good judge of character. So it takes definitely a belief in a person for me to be able to say, here's something that is so close to my heart. I do it for a living and it's so personal to me. Here you go. Take it and run with it in your own language. So it was kind of a huge step for me because it was such an endearing, and it is such an endearing part of my life, hosting the show. But you came across as this sort of person I instinctively trusted would do the right thing with it. And then, interestingly, as we were in the middle of this dialogue where we were going over maybe you hosting your own show, you let slip something which I misunderstood, and then you clarified what you meant. And if you want to pick up the slack from there, I think our listeners would be fascinated to find out.
Well, yeah, this is very, very interesting. I was telling Kevin that I began translating one of the stories. Um, and as soon as I started working on it, I told him I started seeing dead people everywhere because I see dead people all the time. But now it had increased. And Kevin was like, wait. What did you just say? Do you mean that you see dead people, like the dead? And I said, yeah, like it was like just any other conversation, normal talk. But
Yeah, I sorry to jump in, just so our listeners understand. When Anna first said, I'm seeing a lot more dead people since working on the show, I assumed that she meant literal, like bodies in the street, and just took it as a strange, but okay. And then, with further investigation, I said, "Do you mean like the Sixth Sense?"
yeah, and then I started crying like the little boy from The Sixth Sense, and I said, "Yes, I see dead people." But yeah. Strangely enough, I haven't always been able to see dead people, but um 5 years ago I had a really deep depression crisis thing. And while I was going through that, I discovered that it was because, or one of the reasons for my depression was because I was repressing everything in my life. I wanted to draw, I wanted to sing, I wanted to do a lot of things that I would tell myself I couldn't. No, you didn't go to art school, you didn't go to um, singing school, you didn't go anywhere, so you can't do it. And so in that moment, I decided to stop repressing everything. And I guess that deep down, my I don't know, my body said or my brain said, okay, let's stop repressing the seeing dead people part two. And 2 months after I made that decision, I saw my first dead person like there in a clear image. It wasn't like a shadow or a blurred image. It was a full dead person right in front of me. Of course, I don't see them.
Sorry to interrupt. It
Yeah.
just fascinates me because obviously I don't have that ability. But when you say you saw this dead person directly in front of you, you mean they were not transparent? What? How did you know they were dead? Is kind of what I'm getting to. What was the situation? Where were you, etc.?
Well, it's all connected between the senses, but also a feeling. You know, you can see a person, a real person right there, and you just see a person. But it's when I see a dead person, I see a person right there. Um, I want to say solid, but I also get a feeling in my gut that says that they are not really there. How I like to describe it is that I have five senses in my body, your five senses, everybody's five senses. But then I have another set of five senses that are or other things. You know, when I see these things, I don't see them with my eyes, I see them with my other sight, or I can feel, I can touch, I can smell with my other senses. I don't know if that's clear, but that is like the best way I
Wow,
can find to explain it.
I've never heard someone with a psychic ability describe their psychic ability in that way, genuinely. And I love it when I hear new explanations or descriptions of something that I've never heard before. I fully, as I'm sure most of our listeners did, expected you to say, I have five senses. I also have a sixth, not another five. So within that, I mean, without trying to be too literal, do you mean, for example, so psychometry is reading the history of objects through touch? So do you have that ability also?
Not really. No, not through touch, but I don't know, when I go into a space, when I see a person, I can kind of read the energy
Yeah.
of the space. Yeah, and that's how it all began, actually. You know, my grandmother used to be able to see the dead as well. And I always wondered if I got it too, because one of my cousins did, but I never really felt it. I never really saw anything, but I was always able to read the energy. And by reading, I don't just mean like the vibe. I mean, like I see the energy with these other eyes. I see the colors of the energy. I see the energy going like when you record the audio, you know, in the software that you're using, it goes like a wavy line. And when
Yes, like the
it's
sound file. Yeah.
exactly. So I that is how I see, and people are angry or the room is like full of bad energy. I see it as in pointy lines instead of wavy, right? And I see the colors of it. So that's why what I was able to do before I started seeing the actual dead.
And just so I can get the sort of chronology on your seemingly amazing ability correct, you had this ability to sense or see energies in environments and spaces. And then you sadly hit a dark period of your life. and coming out of that dark period when you decided, I'm just going to try everything anyway, some subliminal part of you said, well, Anna must also mean this part of her. And then you began to be able to see the dead.
Yeah, yeah, it was like a door opened and I was suddenly able to see the dead. Yeah, not just the energy. I can still feel and see the energy, but I can also see now people around that are not there.
What would you say is because you told me to quote yourself, you did say from working on transcribing one of the episodes, you're starting to see more dead people, which kind of ties into that whole when you look into the darkness, it looks back at you sort of idea. And I do want you to tell the listeners, not just yet, but about what you told me you saw, which has haunted me ever since, and I'll be perfectly honest. But what would you say is one of the most terrifying, or do you get scared at all with it?
Not anymore. I used to get scared, um, especially when dark energies, and I mean demonic energies, are involved. I do get this unexplainable fear in my chest. That is like the first indication that there's something really evil there. I don't get scared anymore, but sometimes I think that I'm a little bit like Bruce Banner, the Hulk, when they ask him, "What is your secret to not getting angry?" And he says, "My secret is that I'm always angry."
Okay.
I think that that is one of the reasons why I'm always reading horror, seeing horror, writing horror, listening to horror, because it gets me like used to it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would be jump scaring myself all the time.
Yeah. So you've formed a callus sort of thing, like a callus.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. So when I initially found out that you had this ability, because obviously I assumed you were talking about seeing physically dead people in the street, for example. And I thought that's what you meant, as in the more I'm working on the show, the more I'm going past, like, for example, a car crash or something similar. And you obviously then made it clear, no. And you gave an example of working on the show, as in transcribing something. And if you want to take it from there.
Yeah. I'm a teacher. I'm currently a teacher. And that day, my students were, I think they were doing an exam. So everybody was quiet and they were just working individually. And I decided to open my computer to do something with my time. And I continued translating the story. And then I was checking on the students just to see that they weren't copying. And when I looked at one of them, he had a window right on his right side. And this window, it has these metal bars on the outside as a protection so that people don't come into the classroom, and steal things. Everything was fine. I looked down to the story again. And then I looked up again, and there was a person pressing their face between two bars. They were grabbing the bars and pressing their face against the bars, very angrily looking at me. Like, I don't know, if you imagine seeing someone going through a psychotic break and then they suddenly get angry at you for some reason. That is the way that this thing was looking at me, very, very angrily. And the way that I describe the face, because I was thinking about it, like, how can I describe this without making it sound like makeup or something?
Yeah.
It was, remember in The Exorcist, how you were watching the movie and then all of a sudden, for a very short time, you would see this white face pop up in the screen.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah.
White face. Yeah, white
with the
face,
black.
dark circles
Yes.
under the eye. Exactly. Yeah. That is not exactly, but that is how I can describe it. It was very pale. It had dark circles under the eyes. It had this look in its eyes that it was very scary, angry, aggressive. What of course, I jumped in that moment. I was like, oh my God, I just saw a dead person.
Yeah.
And I said it out loud, and my students got scared, and it was chaos for a couple of minutes.
I didn't realize you said it out loud.
Yeah. Just I blurted out, and it was a funny moment. But what I found interesting and scary at the same time was that whenever I see the dead, I see them just there, I guess, like going through what was their life. Um, Maybe in their last moments, just like an image there, or like a recording, like the stone tape theory, just like repeating something
Yeah.
they used to do. But this thing was actually looking at me. And that had only happened once in my life, and that was when that happened. Before, it was a demon looking straight at me. So
Oh, you
yeah.
can't just say that. You do need to
Oh.
say you're going to need to expand on that one, I'm afraid, Anna.
Well, of course, if you want to hear some scary stories.
Yes, please.
Yeah, back in, I think it was 2019, 2020, the January or something, very early 2020. I was dating this guy that had a bar. And for some reason, and this is one of the really strong beliefs that we have here in Mexico, witchcraft. Um, for some reason, he was really good at businesses, at setting up businesses. The bar was really thriving. But all of a sudden, he had to close. And everybody thought that it was just like a finance thing, that he wasn't good at finances. But it happened like 5 times.
Wow.
He reopened the bar and he had to close, and he reopened the bar and he had to close. He even lost his house, etc. So yeah, it was a complete mess. And I everybody thought that it was just like a problem that he had. But when we were dating and he was staying at my house, like, every other day he would stay at my house, and he would say weird things. Like, one of the nights he was lying on the couch, looking at the window that looked into the backyard, and this window also had the metal bars. So he was just there, like, existing, and I was in my phone. And he all of a sudden said, "Oh, I had the craziest idea, like a hand, long fingers, black hand, long nails, pointy nails was closing around one of the bars." And I was like, okay, that's a weird thing to think, but whatever. Okay, it's your imagination. And then he said, no, no, no. You know what? I didn't imagine it. I saw it. I didn't want to do anything with it. I didn't want to pay attention to it. And I was like, oh, okay, well, let's watch a movie. Another night, we were watching movies. I went downstairs to get some popcorn. And while I was waiting for the popcorn to be done, I heard these breathing, heavy breathing, right next to my ear. I tried to explain it with it was a dog. The dog maybe was, breathing under the door, and I could hear it really. But it wasn't really the dog. When somebody's breathing on your ear. So, yeah, I also decided to not pay attention to it at all, and I went upstairs. The really bad thing happened one night when we were already in bed. We were ready to go to sleep. And I have to paint the picture of the house a little bit, so bear with me.
Please do.
The upstairs. It was a really, really small house, so you finish climbing the stairs, and you have like a square meter of space. In front of you, there's the bathroom.
Yep.
On the right side was my bedroom, and on the left side was my daughter's bedroom. So it's just like a little square with doors and the stairs. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's go to my bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
If you see it in a square like blueprints, you have a perfect square. The door to the bedroom is on the upper right side.
Yeah.
And my bed was on the lower left side.
Uh,
Yeah. With my head on the south wall, let's say it like that.
Yeah, I see. So
Yeah.
you're kind
Okay.
of looking out towards a wall on your left, the wall in front, and the door would be on your upper right.
That's where, correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is perfect. Okay, so we were ready to go to sleep. I was lying on the side of the wall, and and the and the guy was on the other side, on the door side, let's say. He was on his side, so with his hip, he was kind of blocking my view of the door.
Yeah.
And I was ready to go to sleep. I was on my back, and I started hearing this weird tapping noise, clicking noise. Imagine that there is a shoelace hanging somewhere, and you know that they have these little plastic things at the ends.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that little plastic thing was tapping on something on the wall or maybe on a window. But it was that specific sound of the plastic of the shoelace, like moving with the wind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I imagine sounds.
Yeah, I'm saying wow because a lot of our listeners who are definitely the Patreons will know I refer to a thing called a validator, which is something which is so out there that no one making a story up would include it in the story unless it was true. And that to me is exactly one of those, because who, when making up an experience, would say what this story or experience is missing is the end of a shoelace hitting a window? Nobody would think that. So please carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like you would hear nails tapping on windows or something. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's how I imagined it, like a shoelace plastic thing. So I started hearing it on the bathroom, which was to my right. And I was like, that's weird. But I don't know, maybe there's a shoelace hanging somewhere. But then it moved, and I started hearing it in my daughter's bedroom. My daughter wasn't there that night. So the door was open. And I started hearing it there, and I was like, well, okay, that's weird. And then I started hearing it downstairs in the kitchen. And that's when I started getting scared. This horrible fear, deep, deep fear in my chest. And I was like, no, there's something really, really wrong here. And I knew that if I looked at the door, I was going to see something. But I needed to. So I kind of peeked over this guy's hip, and I saw a thing coming out of the bathroom and walking past my door. But as it was in the middle of the doorway, it stopped. And the way that I can describe this thing is the alien from Signs.
Yeah.
The one that comes from the bushes.
Yes.
It was a gray thing, or kind of like brownish red gray thing. This one was dark gray. It was this house had many windows, and the lights from the street would come into the house, so it was always illuminated, you know. So I looked at it and I saw that it was dark gray. It was naked, and it wasn't hunched. It was very straight. It was like a proud posture. It was walking in a proud posture, like chest out and the square shoulders, almost like it owned the place, you know?
Yeah.
Like I walk into the room and this room is mine. So it was walking like that. So it stopped right in the middle of the door frame, and it turned to the bedroom where we were. And I knew that it was going to look at me. I knew it. And so it did. And right when it did, I hid again behind this guy's hips. And I hid and I covered my face. And when I felt that these things' eyes weren't on me anymore, I peeked up again, and it was turning again towards the stairs.
Yeah.
And going downstairs. Now my dog was downstairs in the living room, and that's where the stairs come out. So I thought my dog's gonna go crazy, right? It's gonna go crazy, and I didn't hear anything. The sensation that you get when something is really wrong, with something paranormal is about to happen, like the environment gets thick, the air gets thick. You feel something getting really wrong. It was like that when the thing was at my door and going downstairs. But right as it hit the middle of the stairs, everything went away. The dog didn't bark. The feeling went away. I was just as happy as ever. And that was one of the weirdest thing about the experience, because it kind of makes you a little bit existential as to 1 second ago I was feeling like somebody was gonna kill me, and then right now I'm super happy and I'm like, oh, it's okay, nothing happened. So it was like, did it really happen? Did I imagine it? Am I seeing things or imagining things? I don't know. But I know it was real. And I felt that it went away because it was attached to this guy. So it was like checking his property, its property, and checking that it was okay. And then he went downstairs and that was it. And yeah, what I discovered later was that somebody told this guy that he was the object of witchcraft. And that's why his businesses and his life wouldn't pick up.
When you say object of, you mean as in somebody put a curse on him or similar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm,
I've
mhm.
probably said wow more times in this episode than on any other episode. And that's because I'm reading somebody else's experience and very rarely can react in real time. But what was the outcome of that? Did the guy seek any help? Did he get rid of this attachment?
The holidays sneak up fast, but it's not too early to get your shopping done and actually have fun with it. Uncommon Goods makes holiday shopping stress-free and joyful, with thousands of one-of-a-kind gifts you can't find anywhere else. We've all scoured the web for last-minute, passable gifts, but you rarely find something unique. Gifts where the thought is as appreciated as the gift. But you will at uncommongoods.com. Often handmade or made in the US, many crafted by independent artists or small businesses. Made in small batches or very rare one-offs that don't break the bank, though the best finds can sell out fast. It's our second year working with Uncommon Goods, and last year I bought a delicate blown glass sphere in an almost spectral green, and since then it's become a legit conversation piece for anyone coming into my home. Uncommon Goods has something for everyone. Mums, dads, kids, book lovers, football fans, gardeners, you name it. You'll find thousands of new gift ideas you won't find anywhere else. The phrase, the gift that keeps on giving, is rarely true, but with Uncommon Goods, every purchase you make, they give $1 to a non-profit partner of your choice, donating more than $3 million to date. So shop early, have fun, and cross some names off that list. To get your 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/dark paranormal. That's uncommongoods.com/dark paranormal for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods. We're all out of the ordinary.
Personally, I can find it really hard to focus, and as a non-drinker, I can also find it tricky to try and wind down. And how you go about finding your personal vibe is your individual choice. Do you know there's a 100% American farm-grown online cannabis company that ships federally legal THC direct to your door? And they found a way to combine THC with carefully selected functional ingredients so they can target nearly every mood and health concern you can think of. I'm talking about Mood.com's incredible line of functional gummies. And our listeners get 20% off their first order at Mood.com with the promo code Dark Paranormal. Forget one-size-fits-all supplements that just get you high. Mood gummies are optimized so it can take as little as 15 minutes to take you to the mood you desire. Like the Mind Magic gummies for creativity and focus, or PMS support to ease cramps and balance mood swings. And there's a plethora of other gummies for you to find your perfect mood. These days we all know gummies just to get high can be bought from just about anywhere. But Mood have changed the game by combining premium federally legal THC with targeted
of botanicals to help you get in the perfect mood in as little as 15 minutes with no dispensary lines or no awkward conversations, just better days and nights delivered discreetly to your door. Best of all, not only is every mood product backed by a 100-day satisfaction guarantee, as mentioned, our listeners can get 20% off their first order by entering the promo code Dark Paranormal. So go to mood.com and find the functional gummy that matches exactly what you're looking for and let Mood find your perfect mood. And don't forget to enter the promo code Dark Paranormal for 20% off. Let's have a quick break to talk about those wonderful people at Happy Mammoth. You'll have heard me talking previously about Hormone Harmony, the supplement that helps women maintain optimal hormone levels, with over 50,000 glowing reviews from women worldwide, and 98% saying they'd recommend it to friends and family. Well, now you can take those results even further by pairing it with their prebiotic collagen protein, which helps restore gut lining integrity, promoting overall hormonal balance. It helps to relieve occasional bloating or gas, reduce sugar cravings, and help you feel satisfied longer. It helps support healthy, sustainable weight management, boost energy, and help stabilize mood swings. Because your gut directly affects your hormones, improving your gut health can amplify your hormone harmony results, so you can feel like yourself again. A friend of mine was struggling with occasional digestive issues and brain fog, and since adding prebiotic collagen protein, she's noticed a real lift in her energy and overall well-being. Happy Mammoth is dedicated to making women's lives easier, and that means using only science-backed ingredients that have been proven to work for women. They make no compromise when it comes to quality, and it shows. And right now, you can try prebiotic collagen protein and hormone harmony risk-free and get 15% off your entire first order with code DARKParanormal at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code DARKParanormal for 15% off today.
Yeah, I think I haven't seen him in a while, but I heard that he had to go through a lot of rituals and cleanses because this witchcraft thing was really heavy. Like they wanted him not only to fail at everything, but they probably wanted him dead.
Wow.
So that's what they were seeking, right? To push them to the edge
Yeah.
so that he would do it. Yeah.
That's terrifying.
It was crazy.
It's terrifying and it's fascinating, but it also highlights massively the difference in experiences that, as I thought would be the case, and as we've just discussed earlier, seems to be not necessarily polarizing, but when you say I encountered a demon or what you believe to be a demon that was placed onto your ex-partner in some sort of witchcraft ritual or curse, etc. Again, the Western sort of version of that would feature a description which is not, he walked in proudly and looked around with his back upright. And that's what I find absolutely fascinating and intriguing about the sort of experiences you're going to receive from other people if you yourself have experienced those and you're the host. Now, our listeners know that I've had one or two strange experiences, but nothing comes close to that. And I would imagine, and I'm not asking you to regale them here, because this was literally meant to be an introduction to yourself, but I imagine you know people who've had, arguably, to you at least, more terrifying experiences than what you've had.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. At least a couple of persons that, wow, yeah, their experiences are incredible. Yeah, it's super scary.
Gonna have to get them from you at some point and see if I can.
Oh, yeah.
Because that would be phenomenal. But I don't want to keep you, Anna, so I do want to just say that obviously Oscuridad Paranormal starts on Halloween as we start season 22 of the Dark Paranormal. And in our discussions, it was your suggestion to start the first 3 episodes of the brand new show with Kinnar's trilogy that we covered over a series of seasons. And can I just ask why you thought that would be a good way to start the show? And before you answer, I'll explain to our listeners. Obviously, as Oscuridad Paranormal is a brand new show, Anna doesn't have the luxury of having a series of emails to go through and to choose stories from. So, obviously, for the first season or two, Anna will be choosing specific episodes from existing seasons of the Dark Paranormal and translating them, and has chosen Kinnar's trilogy to begin the first 3 episodes of season 1. So why did you go for Kinnar's experiences?
Well, back when I started listening to the show, I started listening to it like 2 years ago, I believe. So I already had a bunch of episodes to listen to, right? So I hit it with all my force, right? So I was listening to the show night and day. And I remember every story pretty well. I don't know why. But if you tell me just something, I go like, oh, yeah, that's episode 27 of blah, 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 right? So Kinnar's story really, really stayed with me. Like could remember every single detail of it. Okay, so I have a little bit of Indian heritage. My great grandmother was from India. So I've always wanted to visit India and to visit all these spiritual places over there. And it kind of stuck with me. But I perfectly remember that I was painting my room black when I was listening to Kinnar's stories. And I could picture the whole thing, and I just really, really loved it. Of course, I didn't know that weird things were going to happen to me when I would be translating it, right? But anyway, something happened there. I don't know. I feel that Kinnar's story is genuinely terrifying, and it is very interesting, and it's very real.
Yeah, to be perfectly honest, it's the trilogy in its entirety for me. It's one of not only my favorite series of stories or experiences. It's just so enigmatically descriptive in terms of you go there when he's telling you his tale, or when I'm reading out that tale which he sent in. You're with him, especially the idea. I forget the name of the bells, the correct name for them. But it's there you go. The pail. Yeah, the bell's like an anklet that was worn around the female's feet. And the sound of that, to me, previously would have kind of sounded like a sleigh bell. And now, if I think about that sound, I get an immediate shock of terror at this, and I'm instantly transported to Kinnar's trilogy. But interestingly, obviously, episode 1, the debut, launches on Halloween, as does the debut of season 22 of The Dark Paranormal. But you're doing the second episode not on the following Friday. That will be episode 3, because episode 2 is going to release on the Day of the Dead.
That's right. Yeah. I was thinking about the dates that we were discussing, and then I thought, wait. We need to do something special for the people for the debut of the whole show, not only the episode 1, but the whole show. And then it came to my mind that, hey, 3 days after that, it's the Day of the Dead here in Mexico. Well, it's actually the 1st, the 2nd, and the 3rd. We have 3 days of the dead. But yeah, like the strongest day of the 3 is November 2nd. And I immediately thought of Kinnar's story, and I said, hey, it's 3 episodes. We can connect them. We could give the people their trick or treat and also their calaveritas, which is what we call candy in Day of the Dead here in Mexico.
Oh, okay.
And yeah. And then continue, like finish the story on the next regular day, regular Friday of the show, right? But yeah, it sounded like a perfect story to post on November 2nd, because it talks about dead relatives, but it also talks about them coming back, and it talks about witchcraft and all these stuff that is really alive during those holidays.
That's amazing. The way you've described that makes me wish I knew Spanish to listen to them from a listener perspective, which I very, very rarely get to do. But what's really great about how you've just described that is your knowledge of how the spirit world ties in with the particular days. And this is what I mean about how spectacular this is going to be to receive stories from yourself when the listenership grows in the Spanish community, or the Spanish speaking community, should I say, and those experiences start to come through to you, and by proxy through to me. Because as you touched on earlier with the demon figure that you saw, and you described it as standing proudly, that would not happen here. We would not get that description of a demon. It would be hunched, it would be sneaky, it would not. Proud and walking proudly through a house would not be a descriptor of a demon that we would ever receive on this show. So I am going to be deeply fascinated by whatever you receive once it starts. Well, Anna, thank you so much for agreeing to join me on the show and introduce yourself to our English-speaking audience. And of course, if you do speak Spanish and you're lucky enough to be bilingual, which I'm not, but head over to Oscuridad Paranormal, wherever you get your podcasts. There is a 90-second trailer up already. It did reach number 20 in the personal journal charts in Spain on Apple Podcasts, which was both a surprise for a 90-second trailer and a nice treat. But Anna, thank you for joining us, and the best of luck. Not that you will need it, but I mean that kind of in a way as well. In general, if by reading these experiences you're seeing people force their demonic heads through bars, then sincerely the best of luck in taking the show on.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think I'll need that luck because, yeah, it's been getting interesting here in my house and work and in the street. Yeah, it's been getting interesting. But thank you. Thank you so much for having me, for the opportunity. Guys, thank you so much for the support. I can't wait to read these stories for you. Do listen to them in Spanish if you already know them. It always hits different in another language. And thank you again for your trust. It's been amazing already, and I can't wait for the rest to come.
I cannot wait myself, and we'll do. I think what I used to do is I used to always put out an old episode of Dark Bites, which was it's the Patreon show. I used to put an old episode out before a new season. But I think what we'll do moving forward is catch up with you and see exactly what's been going on with your abilities, etc. The more you step into Oscuridad Paranormal.
Oh, yes, let's do that. I'm sure I'm going to be full of experiences.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Anna, and you enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.